Oh, this is the hat that I wear when I want to look adorable. Or when I'm having a bad hair day. Onion Trade, the 15th episode of Steven Universe. And one of my absolute least favorite episodes of the entire series. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate Onion. I don't even dislike Onion. If anything, I'm pretty indifferent to Onion as a character. The reasons why I hate this episode aren't specifically about Onion. They're more about just the story itself and some things that I really feel shouldn't have been here. If we had gotten this story about Onion in an episode with a different plot and a different gimmick, I would have liked it a lot better. On that note, I'm not going to be talking a lot about the plot of this episode in this review. However, there will be spoilers in this review, not just for this episode, but for other episodes of the show as well. Just throwing that out there as usual. The plot of this episode is exceedingly simple. Steven loses one of his guys, which are these little vending machine toys that he collects, little figurines of just dudes in different kind of outfits going from like everyday to high adventure. And they actually seem pretty cool. They seem like the kind of thing I would have been into when I was a kid. His favorite when the ranger guy is missing, and at the same time he notices that Onion seems to have a ranger guy who even has the same limited edition palette swap thing going on. And Steven really wants to trade for it, so he's following Onion around, and in the process he learns things about Onion's life. Meanwhile, Pearl is looking for a duplication wand. Oh god, the duplication wand. And eventually Steven gets it from Amethyst, who's had it all along, because of course she loves to torment Pearl. And he uses it to duplicate... Oh god, this thing, I hate it so much. He uses the wand to duplicate his guys, trying to make a better trade for Onion, so that Onion will trade him Ranger Guy, instead of the obvious of just duplicating Ranger Guy. Then at the end you find out that the Ranger Guy that Onion has is in fact Steven's Ranger Guy all along, that Onion stole it, which makes sense because Onion steals stuff. We see it all the time in the background of episodes. Things I like about this episode. I like that we learn some things about Onion. Onion has been a pretty mysterious character so far. He never talks, and his design is quite unique, especially compared to other characters, which has led to a lot of people speculating that there is something odd about Onion. Here we see his dad. We never once see his mom, but we do see his dad is gone most of the time out at sea. And all this meshes pretty well with the next big Onion episode we get, Onion Friend, where we see that his parents just kind of let him do his own thing, which has caused him to sort of internalize things differently than most people, which is why he is so odd from an outsider's perspective. So a good bit of character building for one of the very minor characters, and a good bit of continuity there with a later episode. Not bad. I also don't mind the introduction of the guys into the lore. I think it's a cool little hobby for Steven to have, and I wouldn't mind if we saw, a couple of them just sitting around on shelves later on in later episodes. Maybe we have, I don't know, and I just haven't noticed it. The reason I really dislike this episode is because of the duplication wand. For those of you who haven't seen this episode but are here because you don't mind being spoiled, the duplication wand is this little thing that looks kind of like a slingshot, and you point it at something, it duplicates it, and then you can move the duplicate and place it wherever you want effortlessly, regardless of the object's size or mass. There's no stated limit as to what it can duplicate. There's no stated limit as to what it can move, and it is clearly not limited to just whatever part of an object it is aimed at. It will duplicate an entire object regardless of size or complexity, as shown when it is used to duplicate an entire car, not just the actual car part that the beam hits. Oh my god, where do I even start with this thing? This is the worst thing that has ever been introduced to Steven Universe lore. We know it's not something that Pearl invented herself, or she would just make another one. It has to be something that came from Homeworld, from someone on Homeworld, from before the war ended and Homeworld gems left Earth. So why doesn't every single Homeworld gem, especially Warriors, carry one of these things? Assuming that there is no limitation to the size or complexity of the object that it can duplicate, you could theoretically duplicate entire planets with this thing. Not the people on them, but the planets themselves and everything else about them. If that is true, if that really is how this thing works, why can't the gems just find a suitable planet for a kindergarten, duplicate it, and then make the kindergarten there? Why do they have to go to inhabited planets and risk the lives of the inhabitants? No idea. The only weakness that I can see is that when the wand is destroyed, all of the duplicates go with it. Maybe the process of the gems absorbing the duplicated nutrients means that they themselves are duplicates and would die if the wand that made the planet is destroyed. But then that's fine, okay. So why aren't warriors using this to duplicate ships or buildings or mountains and toss them at their enemies? They'd be invincible. just so long as there were large objects in the vicinity of the fight. That giant freaking axe that we saw Garnet carry back from the Strawberry Battlefield in Rose's Scabbard, I think it was. Let's say you're fighting next to a guy that has that weapon. Just duplicate his weapon and toss it at your opponent. Boom. And we know it can be used for this because Onion actually does this. He duplicates cars and throws them rapid fire at the crystal gems to fight them to a freaking draw. A kid, like this tall, fights the crystal gems to a draw. This tall, like my hand's down here, not like this tall relative to me. Just saying. This is ridiculous. It never should have been introduced into the lore in this form because it's not like the Desert Glass or the Cursed Scroll. It's not one of those things that's just a curiosity. The existence of this item actually opens plot holes in the entire lore of the series, and I just don't like it. In fact, in terms of my own headcanon, I typically pretend like the duplication one doesn't even exist. Kind of like how I handle Star Wars The Phantom Menace, for example. But guys, if you have seen this episode, what did you think of it? Do you agree with what I'm saying here? Do you have a different perspective? If you do, please let me know in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.